G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report, 13 to 27 and sunny. So look, it's lovely weather. It looks a little bit cloudy this morning, but I believe once the sun comes up, it'll chase the cloud away and it'll be a nice sunny day again. The afternoons have been coming up a little bit breezy. Look, not bad breeze, not blow your hat off. Just a nice breeze coming in through the door here. So yeah, look, it's a good time of the year. The days are getting longer. I've been out and I've sprayed the orchard. I watered the orchard last weekend and I got a lot of little leaves come up on the citrus trees this time of year. So we spray them with a little bit of white oil. And the white oil stops citrus leaf mite and all that getting on the new leaves and curling them up and buggering them up. So I've been doing that. I've got a mix to take up to the house today sometimes, and we've got a big lemon tree up there and a couple other little fellas of lime, and in case I need a Corona or something like that up the back. So we've got quite a bit happening. This last week I've put out a couple of videos on the TEA20 on the hydraulic pump and things like that. The week sort of didn't go as planned, but I just get used to that. I have all these grand plans and they all just go to shit, and that's fine. I still enjoy myself. On my Facebook page, on the Bundy Bear's Shed Facebook page, and on my Facebook page, Lance Maskell, last Sunday, before I did the stew, I actually run this 3 horsepower International up, and it's just sitting down here. and I run that engine up, and it hadn't been run since 2012, and it went under in the flood. And well, once again, for those interested in the flood, on my Facebook page, Lance Maskell, there's an album on the flood, and you can see what I did to our business. Rolled us big time. So this engine went under 1.98 metres of water, 2 metres of water. And so it got cleaned up. But anyway, it's been over in the corner there, and I kept it off the pallet racking so I could wheel it out and have a bit of a play with it. And just recently we got a little motor of Paul's going in the shed here a fortnight ago now. And look, it was great fun. I thought, oh, that was a bit of fun. And it got me looking sideways at this motor. So I thought, I haven't run it since that time. It's never run since the flood. So I thought, well, perhaps I should just, instead of letting it bugger up over the years, keep onto it. But I did often twiddle the grease cups and give it a turn just to keep it going. And so, but all the ball was good and everything like that. So, pardon me. So we ran it up, and oh look, I probably run it. Pardon me. I probably run it for, look, maybe an hour. I had the water quite warm in the hopper, and anyway, that was a good thing. And I thought this next weekend coming up, I'll just do a bit of a governor adjustment. I felt it was running too fast and things like that. So a Friday afternoon, I was sitting up in the shed here getting ready to bug around for the weekend, and young fella Tim come and his missus, Ellie, and we're just sitting in the doorway of Bundy Bear's Shed here cracking a beer, finishing the week off with a beer and having a yarn and all that. And we're looking at houses. Like Tim and Ellie got married March this year, and the rental market in Bundaberg is terrific. I don't know what rent is around the rest of the world, but they're paying $395 a week to rent a home in town. So we've put our heads together and our finances together a bit, and we're going to try and buy them a house over the next short period of time, next month or two, before their lease comes up. Because what's happening in town is they're paying $395 a week now, and every time the leases are getting renewed in 12 months, they're going up $20 to $30 a week in town. The house shortage is just unreal, and we're looking to buy a house, and what the banks are saying is, oh, these young couples, they can't get a deposit together. They've got to be able to save a deposit. And on a house in town that's say a house worth 350,000 Aussie dollars. On a house worth 350 grand, the bank says a young couple has to be able to pay rent, one thing, and they got to save 80,000 bucks, and it's just not reasonably possible. So where parents and families can help in, we're going to try and help and secure a new place against our place here and things like that, just to try and get their foot in the door. Yeah, or else it'll just won't happen. So yeah, so last week was a busy week. We've been to the bank to try and get their finance sorted out, or our finance, however we're going to do it, and been looking at houses and running the business and running amok, really. But anyway, that's fine. But so we were sitting in the doorway. Back to the story, Lance. God, doesn't take much to get distracted. Back to the story, and we were sitting there, and I had my foot on the flywheel of this engine, and I'm just giving it a rock back and forward, and I said to Tim, "Oh, she got nice compression," and it was, you know, you could feel it bouncing back off the flywheel, off the compression. You know, you just wind it up and hold it there, let the flywheel go, and she just roll back. So no problems. Saturday morning, I come up to the shed here to get going for the day, get a bit of filming happening, and I was going to lift the lift cover off the TEA20 and film that and just get it up on the bench and strip it and see what parts we needed, then go away and order them. So anyway, under the motor there's a big puddle of water, isn't there? And so I thought, God, that's bloody odd. So it's got an atmospheric inlet valve, so I pressed the inlet valve and wound the engine over. Well, I had water coming out of the carby, water coming out of the exhaust, and water coming out the back of the crankcase at the back here. And I thought, holy shit, what's going on here? So that's what I did for the day. I cranked the camera up. There's going to be a couple of videos on the International M 3 horsepower, or International M type 3 horsepower, and what I'm doing to it. So I hit the camera up for the day, and I've just been buggering around doing bits and pieces on this motor, because now it's got water in there again. We got to deal with it somehow, and so we have to find the problem. So I believe this is a drip feed oiler, and the thread here was way too long and it was slopping around. So I bought this motor off a bloke without a cart or anything, just a bare engine. I put it on an old cart I had out of a Bundy Bear railway station, and I run it up in at the shop before the flood. We had the flood, have not run it since. So this oiler's been wobbling around a bit, so there was enough room here to cut a bit off the thread and just recut the thread a little bit, and it feels nice and firm in there now. So I'll probably service this oiler, as in clean it out and make sure it's okay to go before we get excited. So, but on the carb, underneath the carby, there's a water inlet, and look, I won't go into it now, but there's a water inlet. When they run on power kerosene, they used to introduce a little bit of water to take the knocking out, and I thought it may have been that gasket there, but whoever's owned this engine before I have, they had all that siliconed up, and that was still siliconed up. So I went over to the shop yesterday, and Saturday night I must be getting old when I sit on a computer and draw gaskets of a Saturday evening, and I drew up a gasket for it, and the original gasket, which I have one here, this is one I imported from America years ago that I had in stock, in my stock as in Bundy Bear shed, not at Queensland Tractor Spares. I had that gasket there, so I used that. I put that on the scanner, flatbed scanner, did automatic create sort of thing, as in trace outline, and so I've made a new gasket for it now with no water hole in it, so there's no hole there. So I drew that up. Then whilst I was looking around the engine at the back of the crankcase, they have a little crankcase outlet valve, and that holds it holds a little bit of pressure in the crankcase to stop rubbish and that getting in, and there's a tiny little valve in there, and that valve was missing altogether, and the little spring was missing altogether. that little spring's a small valve out of the TEA 20 hydraulic pump, and all that was missing altogether. So I thought not to worry, I have one of these old engines, a spare up the back that I kept for parts. So I thought I'll go and grab that. So I went and grabbed that, pulled it apart. Bloody beautiful. And here's the little valve. And see the pitting and all that in there. So, and the springs rotted away. So that was unserviceable for me. Pardon me, got the back to the camera. So yesterday morning I went up on the mill and I duplicated that, and I've got a smooth seat there to sit down on the seat. So I've duplicated that so I had a nice smooth surface. I made a spare one while I was going. I should have filmed that, but I just wanted to get shit happening, you know. Sometimes the camera slows things up. So now that crankcase, that will seal up on here. They're not a perfect seal, I don't believe anyway. Well, they can't be when you see the lines on the seat there. And they're factory, they've been like that since 1920. It's a 1920 engine. So I've made that. I've got the little valve out of the Fergie hydraulic pump, and I should be right to put that valve together now. I've got a shed full of shit. Last weekend the igniter was seized. Now in the M-type, this engine was pre-spark plug. So in the M-types they had a igniter, and there's a little set of points there. You can just see that. And I actually, for the video, I've hooked the battery up to that and to show people how it worked. And I've cut, like this had no gaskets anywhere, so once I drew these gaskets out, I ran into the shop last night and I cut out a few gaskets just to see how we go. And I didn't know where the hole was in here, so I've got to knock a couple of holes in here yet, and a few things, but we're on track. Pardon me. I did some spare carby gaskets because there was a corner left on the on the gasket paper, so I did rather than just chuck it out, I did a few extra gaskets. I copied the head gasket and drew it up, but I've got these holes about 2 or 3 millimeters out. Everything else works fine. You can see, yeah, all the holes I've got out just a little bit, so I have to do they're out. Can you see that? I don't know what you can bloody see. Yeah, you can just see the bit of gasket around here. So I've just got to pull those holes in a bit, no big deal. I'll get to that when I get a chance. There's an end plate. Oh, there's a little gasket on the back of the carb where they have because it's an atmospheric inlet, they have a restriction valve in the carb to make the engine suck harder. And there's a little plate at the back of the carb there, so I've cut a gasket for that. That's a good one. And on the back plate, this is the plate at the back of your crankshaft. Now, the later engines had 4 bolts. The early engines just had a wing nut inside here. There's so many differences in these engines, so I've cut a gasket for the back of the crankcase to have it sealing nicely too. So, and it's a good fit. I've got that right. So the only one I have to redraw a little bit is the head gasket and bring the holes in a little bit. So that took a bit of time. And so mostly Saturday I was here buggering around with this motor, trying to sort stuff out, getting things cleaned. The engine's got a bit of a stain on it from the flood and things like that, so I'm trying to clean that off and free the governor up and all that. So I thought while I was working on the engine, I'd just run right through it, not as in rebuild it, just get everything working again and lubed up and all that. So so I have found myself a few jobs I wasn't planning on, and that's fine. I am really enjoying playing with the old engine. I was just saying to Jude, I said, yeah, you do up tractors, it takes you months and years sometimes. Well, it takes me years. It takes you a long time, but you can get so much done on one of these little engines. Now, this 3-horse M, I've got this one, I've got another free one up in the pallet racking, and I've got a parts one. The little 1.5, I've probably got 2 or 3 free ones that I could get going, and probably 3 or 4 parts ones. And so, yeah, with engines, I'd have one. I've probably got 20 engines here still. Anyway, let's not talk about that. So yeah, so with the carbies, through the week I'm going to buy a bit of alloy. If I can find a needle. Yeah, here we go. So these are your carby needles, and this one's had an aluminium sleeve put in, and you can see it's been welded up, brazed up through here. So I'm going to make a couple of new needles through the week just as an exercise, and that you can see the top on these is all buggered up, but I haven't got any 1.25" alloy. So through the week I'll try and get some 1.25" alloy and make myself some spare ones of those. And to tell you the truth, hopping in machine, and I've just had a good weekend, you know. I just enjoyed what I've done all weekend. And so with these little M's, when I was right into engines years ago, and when I was fixing tractors for a living and I had the workshops and I was there 6 days a week working on tractors, I'd often have a project in the corner at work, but when I come home or that I didn't want to muck around with tractors, you know. I'd sort of had a bit of enough of it, and I used to use these vintage engines and take them to shows as a bit of a release from work. And so, you know, I've got the parts catalogue for the book. I've got a workshop manual on my tablet. So a lot of this stuff I've had for years, but I'm just revisiting it, and I found some of it while I was doing the shed clean up here. So it's been an interesting day or two. So anyway, I've still got the pump video coming out assembling the T20 pump, and I'm hoping to clean this bench today, and all I've got to do is put the carby together, and I shouldn't be too far away, and I can film lifting the lift cover off the TEA here and popping it on the bench and stripping it and seeing what we need. Pardon me. I got my mate John Dudley, he's coming in this afternoon, so what I don't get done this morning I'll have to try and do of an afternoon through the week if I get time. But last week I went and got a haircut. Hey, bloody good looking rooster now, eh? Enough of that. I've been welding up those David Brown plates, and my welding helmet up over the back there. Yeah, I think you can see it with the flames on it. It's a hottie. It had a knob on the side to adjust the darkness, and anyway, that knob's all buggered up inside and didn't work. So I was welding the plates up for the David Brown, and it was that bright. I did 10 of them, and I said to Jude, geez, I hope I don't get sore eyes out of this, but I didn't. But I decided with that one I can't put a lens, you know, a magnification lens, because I'm an old fart, in the back of the thing, in the back of the lens, or in behind the automatic mask here. So I went and bought a world class helmet. It's an automatic helmet. You can flick the button and just use it for grinding. I've got all the darkness control. I can pop it out in the sun for solar charge. And yeah, I just upgraded, and there's no knobs on the outside, so if it gets knocked off the bench or something like that, there's nothing to break. And inside I've got a 2x magnification, as in that one I used to have to always have my glasses on, and my glasses are multifocal, so you old blokes will know, you've got to get your head in the right place. Some of my welds, yeah, well, I should give myself a good talking to. So I've got a new welding helmet this week. That should help that problem out. the other day I was snooping around the internet, you know, as you do, and I came across a D1-4 ER40 collet holder. So that goes straight on my lathe without any adapters. Now, I do have a plate. I do have a plate the same size as this with an ER40 on a flat one and an ER32, and they're for holding something flat on the mill bed. But this one here, just to use ER40 collets in the lathe or hold a piece of material, and I think what would they go to? Inch and, look, perhaps inch, a bit over inch anyway. I can just use a quick collet, and the ER collets, you can put a long piece in them, they go back through. So I bought that. I bought it off eBay off M&G. M&G's a Melbourne mob, I think. And look, that came quickly. I ordered it all the same day. I ordered 3 items the same day. That came within a week. These parts took a little while. Now, I've always wanted a set of adjustable parallels. So that's them there. And adjustable parallels. They're particularly good for setting crown wheel and pinions on tractors and things. So you can adjust it fatter or thinner, or chuck it to the shit house. Yeah, for setting diffs and things like that, we used to use them a lot. Oh, I can't start that now because I'm bloody too blind. But the finish on these adjustable parallels, the corners are just a little bit burry on them. It's just not as smooth as it could be, I think. So I'm going to just stone the sides here and maybe the corner on all of them. They're just a slight little bit rough there. So I'm going to fix that. But I also bought a set, and the whole set of 1/4 inch wide parallels for the mill. And I've got the 1/8 ones, and often I've wanted some bigger ones, but the finish on these is just tremendous. I actually rang these, look at that. That's rang together. You can ring something together. So the finish on these is beautiful. Yeah, for a set of parallels, the ground finish is just lovely. I haven't mic'd them up to check if they're parallel, but by the look of the finish on these, I reckon it would be. But yeah, I haven't mic'd it up to check the parallelism. And look, to tell you the truth, for working on tractors and all that, it probably won't matter too much to me. So, yes. Anyway, it won't matter. It's just to have a wider parallel sometimes. I've felt the 1/8 ones don't sit enough, and sometimes it'd be nice to have a bigger one and just sit something to get the level. You don't need 2, and the 1/8 ones would fall over on their own a little bit, where these ones will be fine. So that was just a little bit of an upgrade of gear that I had on the cards for a while. The next thing we'll probably buy for the shed is gauge pins, and I'd like a set of gauge pins up home there for doing stuff. So this all goes up into the machine shop. This stuff, well, this and the parallels and all that will go up into the machine shop. I do have a little bit of machining. I'll have to try and film it for the stews. I just got in a hurry yesterday making those plates, and I had I had the morning to do that. Then I had lunch and Mum coming over, and then we jumped in the car and took Mum for a drive to have a look at a few houses that we were just keep Mum in the loop sort of thing, show her what she was doing, because she's 85 and she's, oh, that'd be lovely, go for a drive. So off we went. So yeah, so we're sort of yeah, rushing along a little bit, I suppose. Yeah, but look, that's going to be it for the stew this week. Hopefully, well, I've finished the TE20 pump, so that video will come out in the next couple of days. The stew will come out. I'll try and edit a little bit of this international. Look, it's just out of interest thing. Some people love old engines, and probably if you're into old tractors, you'll appreciate old engines, even if you don't have any. So, and through the week, if I make a couple of these needles up, I've got to buy the alloy for the handles here. I've got some of the brass there for the 1/4" brass for the needle valve. So and that would be a nice thing to use this little ER40 collet holder for. Yeah, just slide the 1/4 up in there and go from there. My universal dividing head, I used that at 90 degrees. And I just dialed it in at 90 degrees and checked it with me levels and all that. And yeah, that's how I machined the square on this. I turned it to size in the lathe, held it in the universal dividing head, and just run a mill around and turned it and round and turned it, and then I just sat it in there and just turned the handle while it just cleaned up any little messes. So that was good. I probably should show you the setup there, but perhaps through the week when I get back up the shed to do a bit of filming, I'll do that. So look, that's the stew this week. There has been some interesting stuff going on. I've been bloody busy, and that's fine. I like busy. Sometimes I like sitting on my arse doing nothing too, but busy's good. But yeah, so this morning, before my mate John comes, I'll try and get this carby together. And look, it's not a big job. It took me longer to clean everything up and get the stain from the flood and all off everything. It took me longer to do that than it did anything else. These engines were mass manufactured, and you can see like the standard finish on some of these housings leaves a little bit to be desired, and I've polished that a bit now to clean the gasket up. Look at the finish around there. There's a little cap goes in there for filling it up with fuel. Look at the finish there. They got all these bloody, like they didn't run a mill across the top there at all. And I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not reinventing the engine. I'm just having a play with it. So the plan is once I get this engine sorted, I do have some beautiful timber that we cut. When I was into engines years ago, beautiful engines that we cut, or beautiful timbers that we cut, you know, nice rounded edges and all that to make a lovely trolley for this. And I've got the wheel roller there that I had. I used to make all my own wheels and axles and things, and I probably should just run a side project on doing an engine up, just for how it is. I've got a 2-horse non-Pirelli over there that I've never finished in years now. Bundy Bear shed sort of took off with the tractors a bit, and each weekend I feel, I should do a bit of filming this and film that and do something else. So I don't sort of just sit and fiddle much anymore, but anyway, probably should. But anyway, look, that's enough for 1 week. Couple of videos coming out this week for sure. Thanks for dropping by. Have a good week, everyone. Stay safe. Yeah, keep out of trouble. Well, so the batteries just went flat again. I hit the limit on the camera. I just can't on this Lumix get more than half an hour out of it. That's fine. But look, once again, thanks for dropping by, everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe. Stay COVID free, and hopefully everyone will be racing around shortly and we can get rid of this bullshit. And the southern states, Victoria, New South Wales, they've been locked down for forever. And we're a little bit lucky in Queensland that, yeah, we don't seem to suffer from it as much, but being in a semi-rural area like I am, we don't get affected as much as down the major cities either. So, but anyway, no COVID-free zone, Bundy Bear shed. There's only me and Kelly dog here. We get the occasional visitor, and that's about it. So, okay, that's enough. I'll catch up with you next week, everyone. Keep an eye out for the videos coming up, and yeah, look, have a good week. Thanks for your support. Like and comment, and I had a look the other day, 76% of viewers of Bundy Bear Shed don't subscribe. Please subscribe. We get like, you know, a couple of 100,000 views every 28 days, and if I had those subscribers, it'd be great. Cost you nothing. But anyway, your decision. Catch you later, eh? Well, there you go. I've got that tractor muffler on. I haven't got a muffler for one of these engines at the moment, so I thought rather than have it banging and stirring up the dogs, we just go with that. You can almost see inside there where the International logo was on the side. I've got the battery disconnected, it's running on the generator. you can see just where the kerosene's on the side. So we won't paint this one, we'll just keep it as it is. It's not too bad, nice and quiet with that tractor muffler on it. That's over 135. I just had a little elbow I put on just to do it, so it's running okay. May still be running a bit fast. So there you go, we'll call it quits at that.